It was an ordinary evening in an affluent sub or be a calm, quiet neighborhood where neatly trimmed low, and sprawling homes painted a picture of privilege and safety. Maya Evans, a young black woman dressed in casual clothes, sat peacefully in her parked car near the Cure B, scrolling through her phone, while waiting for her friend who lived in the area. The gentle hum of distant traffic and chirping crickets underscored the peaceful scene. However, the tranquility was shattered when a police cruiser's lowly rolled tow stop behind her vehicle, its red and blue lights flashing against the fading sunlight. Officer Daniels, a middle-aged white cop known for his firm approach to patrolling, stepped out of his car. His demeanor was rigid, his movement confident, as if he already knew, was in control of the situation. For him, Maya's mere presence in the neighborhood was enough got to arouse his suspicion. Without hesitation, he approached her car and tapped on her window, already radiating an air of authority that demanded compliance. When Maya rolled down her window, her calm greeting was met with skepticism. "What are you doing here?" Daniels asked brusquely, his tone making it clear he wasn't looking for a genuine explanation. Maya, composed and polite, explained that she was waiting for a friend who lived nearby. Her answer, however, only seemed to fuel Daniel's assumptions. He accused her of loitering and behaving suspiciously despite her valid explanation. What Daniels didn't know and wouldn't realize until much later was that the woman he was attempting to date was not only innocent but also one of the most accomplished figures in the state's legal system. Maya Evans wasn't just another citizen going about her day. She was the newly appointed state prosecutor on a legal powerhouse with a reputation for championing justice and accountability. What unfolded in the next few hours would not only upend Daniel's career but also spark a wider conversation about prejudice, his systemic bias, and the importance of treating everyone with respect regardless of appearances. Maya Evans was a woman defined by resilience, intelligence, and an unrelenting drive for justice. Her life was a testament to hard work and perseverance. Born and raised in a modest neighborhood on Hessidy's outskirts, she had seen firsthand the struggles faced by marginalized communities. Her parents, a school teacher and a postal worker, had instilled in her the value of education and the importance of standing up for what's right. Maya's childhood was filled with challenges, but she never let them deter her. After excelling in high school, Maya earned a full scholarship to a prestigious university where she majored in political science. From there, she attended one of the nation's top law schools, graduating at the top of her class. Her passion for justice was evident early on. She spent their summers working for nonprofit organizations that provided legal aid to underprivileged families. Her ascent in the legal world was meteoric. Maya quickly made a name for herself as a prosecutor who not only secured conviction saga in dangerous criminals, but also worked tirelessly to ensure fairness and equity in the judicial system. She became a voice for the voiceless, a beacon of hope for others who had been ignored or dismissed. Her peers respected her not only for her brilliance in the courtroom, but also for her unwavering commitment to justice. Now, as the state top prosecutor, Maya held on of the most powerful legal positions in the region. Despite her accomplishments, she remained grounded, never allowing her success to distance her from the communities she served. Maya believed deeply in the principle that justice should be blind to race, gender, or socioeconomic status, a belief that would soon be tested in a way she couldn't have anticipated. Officer Daniels was a seasoned cop with over a decade of experience on the force. To his colleagues, who was known as someone who got results, thought whose results often came at the expense of fairness and compassion. Daniels carried an air of authority wherever he went. But beneath that exterior was salmon shaped by bias and a deep-lying sense of superiority. He believed he could identify trouble simply by looking at someone, and too often, his assumptions were colored by race and socioeconomic status. Daniel Shatatrack record oft targeting minorities for minor infractions while giving others the benefit of the doubt. To him, his approach wasn't discriminatory. It was effective policing. He saw himself as the gatekeeper of order, particularly in wealthy, predominantly white neighborhoods like Iwan Maya was visiting. When he received a report about a suspicious vehicle, he didn't question the validity of the call. He assumed it was worth investigating, especially as he saw a young black woman side Tingaloni in a parked car. Daniels didn't to bother to consider that Maya might have a legitimate reason for being there. Instead, he relied in his assumptions, believing she didn't belong. It wasn't the first time he had acted on prejudice, and in his mind, it wouldn't be the last. What Daniels didn't realize was that this routine abuse of power was about to catch up with him in a way that will change his life forever. The encounter between Maya and Daniels quickly escalated, not because of any wrongdoing on Maya's part, but because of Daniels' preconceived notions. Step out of the car, he ordered, hastily leaving no room for negotiation. Maya complied, remaining calm and composed despite the clear hostility in his voice. She handed over her ID and tried once again to explain that she was waiting for a
friend. Daniels barely glanced. D'other identificati before dismissing her explanation asali. People like you don't usually hang around here, Daniels muttered under his breath, though loud enough for Maya to hear. The comment stung, but Maya didn't react. Instead, she maintained her composure, knowing that any show-off frustration or defiance could escalate the situation further. Daniels accused Hera of loitering and claimed she was acting suspiciously. When Maya pointed out that she hadn't broken any laws, Daniels grew increasingly agitated. He accused Hera of resisting and called for backup. Within minutes, Maya found herself handcuffed and placed in the back of the police car, all while remaining calm and cooperative. The bystanders, who had gathered to watch the scene unfold, whispered among themselves, some recording the incident on their phones. Mayak knew she could have revealed her identity right then and there, but she chose not to. She understood the power of allowing the situation to play out, knowing it would serve as a powerful example of the biases and injustices that Samani People faced daily. Her silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. When Maya arrived at the police station, the atmosphere was starkly different. Officer Daniels maintained his dismissive attitude, instructing the officers at the desk to proc Escher without delay. Maya cooperated fully, providing her information and answering questions without resistance. She remained calm, even as Daniels continued to treat her with condescension, assuming she had no means to fight back. But the mood shifted dramatically when the desk officer input Maya's information into the system. The name: Maya Evans. Immediately flagged her position as Thesta to stop prosecutor. The officer widened as she glanced at Maya, then at Daniels, who was still oblivious to what was happening. Sir, the desk officer stammered, pulling Daniels aside. You might want to look at this. Daniels, confident as ever, waved off the concern. Whatever it is, just process her. I don't have time for games. But when he finally glanced at the screen, his expression froze. There it was, in bold letters. Maya Evans, State Prosecutor. Their realization hit him like a freight train. He had just arrested one of the most powerful legal figures in the state. Maya, observing his reaction, finally broke her silence. Is there a problem, Officer Daniels? She asked, hurt and measured and authoritative. Daniels stammered, searching forwards, but none came. The power dynamics had shifted entirely, and the man who had acted with such arrogance now stood frozen, unsure of what to do next. The silence in the station was deafening. Very one processed the gravity of the situate ion. Maya, ever composed, stood up and said calmly, I believe we need to have a conversation about what just happened. For Daniels, it was the beginning of a reckoning and ever's all coming. The tension in the police station was palpable, least the truth of Maya Evans' identity settled over the room. Officer Daniels, previously brimming with arrogance, stood frozen, his confidence replaced with a mixture of disbelief and dread. Maya, who had remained calm and composed throughout the ordeal, finally stepped into her power. She adjusted her posture, now commanding the room with a quiet authority that left no doubt about who she was. As the murmurs among the officers grew loud, the desk sergeant, clearly embarrassed, attempted to smooth things over. "Ms. Evans, I had no idea," he began, but Maya raised her hand to stop him. "It's not Ms. Evans," she said firmly but without anger. "It's Prosecutor Evans." The title hit like a thunderclap. Every officer in the room, including Daniels, now fully understood the gravity of what had just happened. The state prosecutor, every person who oversaw cases involving police misconduct and criminal justice reform, had just been unjustly arrested by one of the Iran. Daniel strove to stammer an apology, but his words faltered under Maya's scowling gaze. I didn't realize who you were," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "And that's the problem," Maya replied evenly. "You didn't care to ask. You made assumptions about me based on me appearance, not on anything I adored." Her words were a scalpel, cutting through the excuses and justifications Daniel had relied on for years. He had built his authority on snap judgments and unchecked biases, and now, for the first time, he was facing someone who wouldn't let him off the hook. The other officers, sensing the weight of the moment, remained silent. The power dynamics had shifted entirely, and Maya, who had been treated as a powerless suspect just minutes ago, now commanded the room with grace and authority. She didn't raise her voice or lose her composure. She didn't need to. Her presence alone was now to make it clear that she was in control. Maya turned to the desk sergeant. "I want a detailed report of everything that transpired tonight. Every word, every action, every decision. I'll bear viewing it personally," she said, heard and professional but firm. The sergeant nodded quickly, his face flushed with embarrassment. "Yes, Prosecutor Evans. Right away." Before leaving, Maya turned back to Daniels, who looked as though he wished the floor would swallow him whole. "Officer Daniels," she said, her voice steady, "I'm not going to ask for an apology because I believe actions speak louder than words. But I will tell you this, the days of policing by prejudice and assumption are over, and I'll make sure of that." With that, Maya walked out of the station, her head held high. The officers watched her go, the sound of her footsteps echoing. In the silent room, Daniels, now alone with his thoughts, began to realize that his actions would have consequences far beyond a simple reprimand. As Maya drove home from the station, her mind wandered to the journey that had brought her to this moment. She thought about the countless obstacles he had faced as a black woman navigating a system that was often stacked against her, and how those challenges had shaped her into the person she was today. Growing up in a working-class neighborhood, Maya had witnessed firsthand the injustice that could arise from systemic bias. Her father, a factory worker, had been falsely accused of theft when Maya was just a year old. Although the charges were eventually dropped, the experience left a lasting impression on her. She remembered sitting in the courtroom, watching her father's dignity stripped away by a system that cared more about appearances than facts. It was in that courtroom that Maya first decided she wanted to pursue a career in law. She vowed to become an advocate for those who were too often silenced or ignored, and to fight for a justice system that treated everyone with fairness and respect. That vow carried her through law school, where she excelled despite being one of the few women of color in her class. It fueled her during her early years as Sapros Acutor, where she took on cases that exposed policeum is conducting systemic corruption. Maya's career wasn't without its challenges. She faced skepticism and resistance at every turn, from colleagues who doubted her abilities to defendants who'd dismissed Harris, just another lawyer. But Maya never let the doubts of others deafen her. Instead, she let her work speak for itself, building a reputation as a fierce advocate for justice and a leader who valued integrity above all else. It was this resilience that had prepared her for moments like tonight. Maya knew that their encounter with Daniels wasn't just about her, it was a reflection of the larger issues she had been fighting against their entire career. And while the night's event had been frustrating and disheartening, they also reaffirmed her commitment to her mission. She would not let town officers' prejudice deter her from the work that needed to be done. The morning after Maya's arrest, the incident was the talk of the town. Video footage taken by bystanders had already begun circulating on social media, sparking outrage and calls for accountable ID. The hashtag was Justice for Maya trended nationwide, with users condemning the actions of Officer R. Daniels and demanding systemic reforms. For Daniels, the fallout was immediate and severe. He was placed on administrative leave pending an internal investigation, a decision that only added to the scrutiny surrounding the department. Reporters camped outside the station, eager for updates on the investigation and statements from both Daniels and Maya. As the public outcry grew louder, the police department's leadership knew they couldn't afford to ignore the incident. The chief of police held a press conference acknowledging the seriousness of the situation and pledging to conduct a thorough review of Daniels' actions. "We are committed to accountability and transparency," the chief said. "None is above the law, including those who enforce it." Meanwhile, Maya filed a formal complaint against Daniel S., outlining every detail of the encounter and calling for a comprehensive review of his conduct. She didn't do so out of spite, but out of a desire to ensure that no Nielzu would have to endure the same mistreatment. "This isn't just about me," Maya said in a statement to the press. "It's about creating a system where everyone is treated with dignity, no matter their race, gender, or background." As the investigation unfolded, Daniels' history of questionable behavior Kamatoli G8. Complaints from other citizens surfaced, painting a picture of an officer who had long operated without accountability. These revelations only added fuel to the fear, prompting calls for broader reforms within the department. Despite the mounting pressure, Maya remained focused on the bigger picture. She knew that true change wouldn't come from punishing one officer, it would come from addressing the systemic issues that allowed such behavior to persist. And as the state's top prosecutor, she was determined to lead that charge. In the weeks following the incident, Maya held a press conference to address the public and share her vision for a more just and equitable system. Standing before a crowd of reporters and community members, she spoke with the same calm authority that had carried her through the night of her arrest. "What happened to me was not unique," Maya began. "It was a symptom of a larger problem, a problem that too many people in this country face every day. But let me be clear. This is not about blaming individuals. It's about holding systems accountable and building a future where everyone, regardless of their appearance or background, is treated with the respect they deserve." Maya announced a series of initiatives aimed at addressing racial bias in law enforcement, including mandatory training programs, independent oversight committees, and stronger accountability measures for officers who engaged in misconduct. She also pledged to work with community lead or store build trust between police departments and the neighborhoods they served. Her speech was met with applause and widespread praise. Activists highlighted her as a beacon of hope, while legal experts commended her for using her platform to push for meaningful change. Even some members of law enforcement express said support, recognizing the need for reform within thy ranks. For Maya, the press conference wasn't just about addressing the incident. It was about turning a memento of injustice into an opportunity for progress. She knew there was still much work to be done, but she was ready to lead the way. The fallout from the incident left Officer Daniels grappling with his actions and the consequences they brought upon his career and reputation. For the first time in his life, Daniels found himself forced to confront the biases that had guided his decisions and shaped the way he saw the world. Plus, on administrative leave, Daniels had ample time for self-reflection. Here played the events leading up to Maya's arrest in his mind, realizing how his assumptions had blinded him to her dignity and humanity. The weight of public backlash compounded his guilt. He had not only mistreated an innocent woman but also disrespected one of the most accomplished individuals in the state. Her poise and grace throughout the encounter only deepened his shame. Daniels' mandated bias training was another pivotal moment in his journey toward accountability. The program began with an exercise designed to make participants confront their own prejudices. As Daniels filled out a worksheet listing as stereotypes he had been conditioned to believe, he felt a lump in his throat. For years, he had convinced himself that it was merely doing his job, but the worksheet forced him to acknowledge the subtle and overt biases that had shaped his policing. During a group discussion, Daniels listened to stories shared by other training, both police officers and community members. Blackman in his 40s shared how being stopped and frisked had become a routine part of his teenage years. A Latina woman recounted being told by an officer to go back to her country during a routine traffic stop. These accounts, combined with Maya Spoy's diet-piercing remarks, painted a vivid picture of the harm caused by unchecked prejudice. Though initially resistant, Daniels began to accept that his assumptions about people, particularly people of color, were rooted in systemic issues that extended far beyond his individual behavior. He started to recognize that the stereotypes she had internalized didn't come from nowhere but were reinforced by the culture around him, from the training he'd received to the conversations in the locker room at the precinct. One day, Daniels reached out to his department's diversity consultant for a one-on-one conversation. "I need to understand how a gather," he admitted, his voice filled with uncharacteristic vulnerability. The consultant, our retired officer who now worked to address racial disparities in policing, listened patiently as Daniels described his upbringing, his career, and the incident with Maya. "It's not easy to learn what you've been taught," the consultant said, "but what matters is that you're here willing to do the work." As part of his path toward redemption, Daniels decided to pen a personal letter to Maya. It was a difficult task. Putting his guilt into words felt overwhelming. But he knew it was a necessary step. In the letter, Daniels admitted to his biases and took full responsibility for his actions. "I made a mistake," he wrote. "Not just in arresting you, but in failing to see you as a person. For that, I am deeply sorry." When Maya received the letter, she read it carefully. Daniels didn't ask for forgiveness, but he expressed a genuine desire to change. Moved by his sincerity, Maya responded with a brief but encouraging note. "Change is never easy, but it's always worth it. Use this experience to grow and do better, for yourself and for others." Daniels' reflection didn't end with his apology to Maya. He began volunteering at community events, speaking to youth groups about the dangers of prejudice and the importance of accountability. Slowly but surely, he started to rebuild trust with the very communities he had once alienated. Though he knew the damage he had done he couldn't verba fully undone, Daniel shop that his actions moving forward would help him become part of the solution rather than the problem. The story of Maya Evans and Officer. Daniels became a symbol of resilience, justice, and the potential for systemic change. What began as a painful incident rooted in PR adjudicacy evolved into an opportunity for growth and redemption, not just for Daniels, but for the entire community. For Maya, the encounter reaffirmed her mission as saper, prosecutor, and advocate for justice. She said the platform created by the incident to push for meaningful reforms in law enforcement, from mandatory bias training to community oversight boards. Under her leadership, the state saw a decline in incidents of racial profiling. As departments implemented the programs he had championed. Maya's unwavering belief in fairness and accountability inspired countless others to stand up for their rights and demand a more equitable system. For Daniels, the incident marked a turning point in his life. His journey from arrogance to humility wasn't either quick nor easy, but it taught him lessons she would carry forever. He came to understand that being an officer isn't just about enforcing the law. It was about serving and protecting every member of the community, regardless of their background. Daniels became a vocal advocate for reform, using his story as a cautionary tale about a danger so unchecked bias. The incident also left a lasting impact on the public, sparking nationwide conversations about her racial profiling, police accountability, and the need for systemic reform. Communities across the country began examining their own biases, with grassroots organizations leading efforts to build BR.
Between law enforcement and marginalized groups. In one particularly moving moment, Maya and Daniels appeared together at a community forum where they shared their experiences and lessons learned. Daniels, visibly emotional, spoke about the importance of listening and acknowledging one's mistakes. "I can't change what I did," he said, "but I can work every day to make sure it doesn't happen again." Maya, as always, spoke with grace and conviction. "This isn't just about a person or an incident," she said. "It's about creating a society where everyone is treated with dignity and respect. No matter who they are or where they come from, change isn't easy one, but it starts with each of us." As the forum ended, the audience rose to their feet in a standing ovation. Moved by the powerful message of accountability and hope, Maya and Daniels, standing side by side, represented the possibility of redemption and the power of using one's mistakes to inspire meaningful change. In the years that followed, Maya's influence continued to grow. She became a leading voice in the fight for criminal justice reform, earning accolades for her work in creating a fairer and more equitable system. Her street and her ability to turn a memento of injustice into a catalyst for progress inspired countless others to believe in the power of resilience and determination. For Daniels, the path forward was one of continuous learning and self-improvement. Though he would always carry the weight of his past actions, he found purpose in working to make amends and advocating for reform within his department. His journey served as a reminder that event also who falter can find redemption if they are willing to confront their biases and take a responsibility for their actions. The legacy of Maya Evans, the lessons learned from her encounter with Officer Daniels extended far beyond their state. It became a story of hope and transformation, a testament to the idea that change is possible and people are willing to listen, learn, and to take action. As Maya often said, true justice isn't just about punishment. It's about creating a system where everyone, no matter their race or background, can thrive. With those words, Maya's journey continued, lighting the way for others to follow.